Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Junk Prototype episode 80, recording on Saturday, October 9th, 2021. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
Happy Canadian Thanksgiving. We're all celebrating. I haven't had any Thanksgiving dinners yet, but what are we thankful for? We're thankful for video game franchises. And today we'll be talking about our top 5 video game franchises. We'll also be taking a peek, just a tiny peek, at Metroid Dread. I'm definitely the furthest. I have dozens of thoughts in the list
dozens
here.
of thoughts.
And I am ready to go to town on Metroid Dread, but we can't yet. I may have gotten a little heated pre-show, expressing some of my opinions about the game. You can imagine what they might be relating to Nintendo. Not that it's a bad game, but
You may find them at the end of this video, potentially.
I have thoughts. And I'm probably 3/4 of the way through, but we're not there yet. Hopefully, a full review next week is the plan. But we needed some filler. We had a junk mail that we didn't get to because it's just too intense for a 5-minute conversation. It needs an entire episode dedicated to it with a catchy YouTube video with top 5 video game franchises. This deserves the official full episode treatment. So we're going to do our top 5 video game franchises of all time. Right? You guys good to go? You happy with your lists? I spent 10 minutes on it, I hope. But I think with the video game franchises, that's a good thing. You shouldn't have to think too hard about your top 5 video game franchises. If you do, you probably don't like it that much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, so the question came from Know Nothing. I think it was from the Discord. But so the question was, would be interested to hear the Game Junk Crew's top 5 video game franchises of all time. Now, again, like just setting these kinds of things up, it's like, I think this is just personal. This is just like my personal, like the 5 franchises that came to my head that I was like, as soon as a game from this franchise comes out, I have to play it. That's what my list is going to be, but I'm sure you could have a lot of debates over what's the most influential video game franchise, what's the best selling. Well, there's not much of a debate there, but
It's going to be on your list because it's best selling?
I mean, it's a factor in terms of if you are talking like a debate over greatest franchises of all time. That's not exactly what my list is.
This is our personal top 5 franchises. It's not the greatest. It's what every top 5 list should be. It's what every star rating should represent, what it means to you, not in the history of video games or to other people. It's what it means to you. None of this bullshit. It's the best. It's the worst. It's what I like the best. This Metroid, it's just got me so fired up.
You're rattled.
I just died at the same bosses 300 times. Right before I did this. So annoying. Okay, let's get into it. Huck, you're up first. Number 5.
Okay, my number 5. Actually, I was surprised this fell into my top 5 at all. I also, just to piggyback on Dwyer, mine was the games I look forward to. And this game, or this series, I should say, sort of falls out of that category, but I still enjoy every one I end up playing. And that is the Assassin's Creed franchise. I know, off the board. I really like the historical aspect of all the Assassin's Creed games, and I like exploring their worlds much more probably than any other open world franchise that is out there right now. And for that reason, also the gameplay is solid. I mean, they basically...
I gotta ask, did you play Odyssey and Origin?
I have played both. I have not beaten both.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I enjoyed both of what I played, but they are very long games. They do take a large time commitment, which is a detractor for me, but I enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot, and I'm confident in this number 5 being where it is. I love it.
I have so many I could go into honorable mention about, like why I disqualified them. Like I have about 10 that I like. There's no Insomniac franchises on here, and that's a tough one for me to leave off.
How can you live with yourself?
But the first Ratchet and Clank, like the PlayStation ones, like they're not that good. I tried to play
Wait. Hang on. You better have some blue haze in your list. I was expecting all blue haze. You're telling me Ratchet and Clank's not in there?
There's some blue haze. Believe me. Lots of blue haze going on here. But I think, okay, Sean, you go number 5.
Whoa, weird hitch for a second there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, just my list is not going to be all that surprising. Number 5, Batman Arkham series, which, is not the
Good choice.
not the hugest, longest running franchise out there, but I really like all the games. I am dying to play Gotham Knights or whatever the next one is, and as well as the Justice League Suicide Squad. Are you guys still there?
We are
I
still
think my
here.
internet's fucked. Like, I cannot.
I can
completely
see you.
frozen.
Your video's good. The video here is good.
And I have to say, like, honestly, you have not had one hitch on our end. So I think it's your video
okay.
card or computer or something.
That could be bad. Anyway, Batman Arkham. There you go.
Can you hear us at least?
I can hear you fine. Yep.
Okay, we're good then.
Okay, my number 5. This is a shock, a BioShock.
Oh, what?
Ooh.
Oh my goodness! Wow, off the
And
board.
I was looking at all these series. I thought, even there's some I love, but like I don't love certain versions of it. I don't love everything to do with it. But BioShock, I put on here as a special entry because there's only been 3 games. I've loved every one. I've played each one, well, at least 2 of them multiple times, and they don't like overkill you with entries. I don't get sick of it. It's, I think it's a really good franchise, and I cannot wait for it to come back. I always love the art, the world, the mechanics, the story. I loved BioShock Infinite. I love BioShock 1. I played BioShock 2 when everyone said it sucked, and I like that too, even though I don't remember that much about it. BioShock does not get enough credit, and I can't wait for it to come back.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a while since we've had a new BioShock game. Like, does anybody know what's going on there?
I'm still waiting for BioShock Vita, which I was promised at some point, I believe, if I remember that story correctly.
Yeah, I think they're working on something. I think they are working on something. I think they announced that. It's not Ken Levine. I don't think it's Ken Levine. I don't think it's anyone. I think it's like a new team somewhere, if I recall.
And I'm not including other games that say they're from the BioShock universe. Like, that's not part of the...
Well,
Not including Gone Home?
I think there's been others that have done that too. There's been like, this is just BioShock games.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that includes System Shock, which I think is kind of the predecessor, and BioShock's the spiritual successor or whatever. But
Does not include it. It is just BioShock.
okay.
Huck, number 4.
My number 4, probably a little early compared to where it is on your guys' list, but I'm putting the Mario franchise at number 4. And this is a game that again, kind of outside of the grounds we initially laid, but I don't really look forward to Mario games, but they're always so good. And they're always just so polished, and every game I play, I like. I maybe not love every Mario game, but they are definitely up there as like some of the best games. And as a franchise as a whole, I think even though the gameplay is all pretty much the same, right? You run, you jump, you bop things on the head. That is the core of Mario. And they still always find a way to sort of just put a little twist on that formula that makes them all so interesting. And number 4, Mario.
Tough to argue. I have to say, is anyone else fearful of the potential embarrassment for forgetting one of their franchises, especially after I said, if you have to think that hard about it, it's probably not one of your favorite franchises?
Yes.
Like, I'm dreading whatever I've forgotten on this list.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, my top 5 was basically almost the first 5 that came to my head, and I came up with other stuff afterwards, some of which will be honorable mentions. But,
we know Dwice, right? Metal Gear,
Yes,
Metroid, Mario, and
Metal
Zelda.
Gear is not on my list. I don't know where that's.
I don't know why. I thought you had a hard on for Metal Gear.
No.
Some other cyberpunk something.
My number 4 is Huck's number 4, Mario, which, it probably is number 1 on a lot of lists if you look online, which I think makes sense. I guess, there's a discussion to be had whether that includes things like Mario Kart and all these other spin-offs. I mean, I'm I'm not really counting that. I've played a lot of just straight up Mario platformers in my
If
life.
if you look at top selling video game franchises, I'm just saying how I came to this conclusion. It is listed separately. Like Mario Kart is a different franchise than Mario.
It makes sense. I mean, but the thing is, there are a lot of like one-off spin-offs too, and then I think once something has a lot of sequels, then it becomes its own franchise. But if it's just a one-time
And
spin-off,
it's
then it's
not a
kind of-
franchise by our rules. Did I say you had to have at least 2 games for our rules?
Oh, we didn't
kind of
explicitly
said
say that.
Okay, I can't remember what I said or what we discussed on text earlier.
We said it.
today.
Yeah, we said it in our chat. We didn't say it in this show.
So in order to qualify for this list, you have to have at least 2 entries. So I could not make Horizon number 1.
Interesting. But yeah, Mario, like, I mean, in terms of obviously it created basically the entire platformer genre.
Be careful, Sean.
Jumpman or something? I don't know.
Oh, I think there was a Pac-Man platformer before Mario.
Okay, maybe. I don't know about that. That's not ringing a bell for me. But anyway, I mean, like, just in terms of like even an early video game that had some kind of story or some kind of narrative, like it's pretty groundbreaking there. But every kind of new platform and new shift in gaming, Mario is always there doing something new and reinventing things. So, and they're always fun. So you gotta have Mario in this discussion somewhere.
I don't know where I heard that. I can't find any evidence, but maybe it's more attributed with the side scrolling. Mario in some ways did invent the single screen platforming with Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I mean, you could consider like Adventure to be a platformer, right?
Yeah.
Like that was obviously before Mario.
I think there was a Pac-Man one earlier than that, though. But I don't have time to figure it out right now. Okay, my number 4. I was saying wow when Sean said Arkham because it's my number 4. And I think it's one of the most underrated franchises going. And not from a, like, I love Batman. It's the idea...
Can you say that again?
I'm sure I'll be hearing it on Film Junk soundboards for years to come. The design is so good. First of all, you take a Metroid-inspired design for Arkham Asylum, and their ability to come up with Riddler trophies and unique puzzles and detection mechanics, like, so good. And then the way they expand upon those design ideas, like, impressed me even more. So then you get an open world game with Arkham City, and now it's like, it's an open area, but it's not too big. And every section of the city matters. And there's so much variety. The way you get a Riddler trophy that isn't obvious and you figure out you can solve it, like, they are so good at puzzle design and just design in general. And then to me, the most underrated thing Rocksteady has ever done is Batmobile combat in Arkham Knight. It is an amazing shooter. It's got amazing shooter mechanics with like the predictable beams and the weak points of shooting, a totally different camera perspective, and no one talks about the Batmobile mode in Arkham Knight, and it is a crime. I feel guilty because I haven't played Origin.
You really haven't? Wow.
No, like I've played it, I didn't
That's
beat
the
it.
only one. Yeah, that's the only one I haven't beat either. I've made it pretty close to the end, but
Hey, but you know what's putting that little cherry on top? 2 things. Arkham VR being like my first definitive VR experience, and Hux, where he drank half a bottle of rye and had to sleep on my couch for a day.
I also liked
It was the VR.
It was the VR. It was Arkham VR.
I also like the Vita game that they did. That one, I don't think too many people have played.
Yeah, I haven't played that.
Origins
Blackgate.
Blackgate.
Yeah, I
It's
should
pretty,
play that.
pretty decent.
Good call.
It's funny because as soon as Dwight said Batman Arkham series, and as soon as Frank said, is anyone going to be embarrassed? I was embarrassed because I totally forgot about this Batman Arkham series. Totally would have slid into the number 5 spot, if not maybe a little higher. I also love it. Not on my list. Sheer embarrassment over here. But my number 3 is the Mass Effect franchise. Huge sci-fi guy. love RPGs. It's perfect mix for me. I enjoyed Andromeda probably because I played it like a year after it came out and it already had 200 patches to make it reasonable. But I enjoyed all those games. I'm looking forward to whatever they do next. I'm sure they're going to do something else in that series, and it is a game that I will consider picking up, as soon as it comes out. I got the Mass Effect Legendary Edition again out of the library just this past week. I've been playing that again.
If something's on your list, you got to buy the games that come out. That's the first rule.
Well, I've already bought all of them, of the original trilogy.
Hit triple dip, quadruple dip. You got to be buying all the time.
No, I refuse. But yeah, I love Mass Effect. I love the characters in it. I think they do a great job with the characters. I like the gameplay. I think they've kind of iterated on it just enough every entry. And yeah, love it. That's it. My number 3.
All right. My number 3 is another Nintendo franchise, Zelda. Probably no huge surprise. I really like Zelda. I think, there was a part, was a kind of an era in the middle there where maybe I lost a bit of touch. Like I tried all the games, but they didn't hook me. Like kind of the Wii era with Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword. I was not totally feeling it. And I feel like, some of those games maybe, I don't know how Frank feels on this one, but it may be a little overrated.
I feel like every Zelda game's overrated.
And they always get amazing reviews. And I think the one thing they are very good at is trying new things. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, Breath of the Wild brought me back big time. And even now, like going back through Skyward Sword HD, I'm enjoying that. But yeah, just I think that kind of overhead kind of hack and slash action RPG mix, I think is pretty influential. And I like any game that kind of just copies that gameplay formula. Generally, I will like it. So it's my number 3.
Okay, well, my number 3 is God of War. And I do think the 2018 God of War game is let's just say it's overrated. I think didn't it win like best video game ever in some recent thing? I think I heard.
Really?
I don't know.
Or some poll. I don't know.
Best video game ever. Let me look this up.
Our best video game of all time, possibly.
Doom.
Let me know if you found it. Oh, Doom. That's a good one too. And I do think 2018 is pretty overrated. The map is not great. It's kind of annoying, but overall it is an amazing game. And I think the difficulty level is kind of a little obscene at times, but I love the classic God of War games, except for Ascension, which was at the, detriment of its own, greed of putting in a multiplayer system in a game that doesn't need it. All those other classic God of War games, PSP ones, I've played multiple times. I think I've played God of War 1 through 3 and the 2 PSP ones at least twice each, some of them 3 or 4 times. And I think
God of War 3 was like a visual masterpiece.
It was amazing. I love classic God of War more than I like this new version. Not to say I don't love it, and I've beaten that one twice as well. So I'm pumped for Ragnarok. I'm sure it's going to be great, and I love God of War.
It's a good choice. I really enjoy all those games as well, but it definitely didn't pop into my head as like a game franchise I'm, dying to play.
As I was talking about it in my head, I'm like, oh shit, did I forget Infamous? Because I love Infamous and think it's underrated, but I'm like, I didn't beat Infamous 2, so no, I didn't forget it.
Yeah, I like God of War I thought of, but I've only finished, I think, the first one and the most recent one. And I think a lot of people think part 2 is actually the best, so I feel like I really need to play that one. But
yeah, I would think the newest one is the best one. Despite the map problems, I think a lot of the other gameplay just is so amazing. And like the reveal halfway through the game, just
I'll never forget it.
So many things.
It's the best video game twist reveal I've ever experienced.
Well, and it's like a callback to the original games that people should know but may not. So like it really kind of like
gameplay completely. It makes it an entirely new game. It's incredible.
It's a great game. So like despite you saying it's overrated, I actually don't think it is overrated. I think it's exactly where it is. I think it's great. Absolutely great.
My claiming of overrated could be because I am,
Trophy hunter extraordinaire.
no,
Trying to get
thinking
those
that people
Falcon-
are saying it's literally the best game ever made. And I'm like, let's not get crazy here.
It's all about what Frank's perception of what other people think.
Well, of course, that's what everyone is. Like you're at the mercy of your own perceptions. What do you want me to say?
No, you're right.
Fair enough. My number 2 is the Uncharted franchise. And this is a game where I do believe it fell off with number 4, but it is still a series. When the next one comes out, whatever that may be, I will be buying it day one. I will be playing it as soon as it's done downloading whatever the next insane size of the game is going to be. And it will be a visual masterpiece with incredible set pieces. And I look forward to every single one. I look forward to seeing what they've added, what they've tried, the crazy risks they've taken with the technology. It is just a franchise that is pushing the limits of modern tech usually. And it's really like the first game I played, like Uncharted 1, Frank, when I borrowed it from you 10 years ago or whatever it was, 15 years ago, where it was legitimately the first game that had giant, believable set pieces intermixed with like an incredible story. And I just love, the gameplay, especially in that first one,
I love the first
sponge.
Uncharted. Like I do
too. But if you played on the harder difficulties, those bad guys are bullet sponges. And
beat it on the hardest difficulty, but
I know you're my hero. Did I tell you that? But I just love it, and I will buy every Uncharted game, even if they keep putting up, semi-open world sections like an Uncharted 4 that suck. I don't care.
Did you play the DLC / spin-off?
No, I didn't. No.
I gotta play it. It's the next game I play, I think, after I'm done Metroid. It's not that long.
Oh, you didn't beat either?
No, I probably got like a third of the way through, and I was not digging the open worldness either.
It's called Lost Legacy, right? Lost Legacy?
Yep.
That's what it's called?
I guess I haven't played the Vita one either. I don't really count that, though, because it's not
What, Golden something? I played that one. I beat that one. That was good.
Golden Abyss, I think.
Golden Abyss, yeah.
Well, I'm going to need to play those ASAP, as we'll see shortly.
There's lots of rubbing the touchscrreen.
I like that stuff. I did play some of it.
I know. You love touching screens.
Well, no huge surprise, but my number 2, I'm also in sync with Huck on this one, Uncharted.
Ooh, I was expecting Metroid Castlevania somewhere,
Metroid's coming, don't worry.
It's number 1. But, Uncharted, I have played all 5, 6 of the games and beat them all, believe it or not.
You beat the 2 for the Vita one and...
Yeah, I beat the Vita one just like last year, I think. Went back and finished it. But
this is embarrassing. My list is now officially embarrassing.
But I mean, yeah, that's what the level these games are at for me. Like I love them, and I think they are kind of the epitome of like Hollywood blockbuster action movie in an interactive form. And I enjoy the story elements. I enjoy the characters, the dialogue, but the gameplay is also fantastic. So I hope one day we will see another one. I don't know, but yeah, that's my number 2.
Can you imagine how Frank's going to be if this is not on his list? So embarrassed.
My number 2 is the Mario franchise. And pretty much for all the reasons that have been said, I think Mario Odyssey is one of the best games ever, definitely in my top 3. And then I go back, and even though they don't play that great now, like I still played through most of Mario 64. I think I'm missing 12 stars. I think Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are incredible. Mario 3D World is underrated. Super Mario World is probably the best or second best 2D platformer of all time, behind Kaze and the Wild Masks. And
yes,
like original Mario, I'm not that big on original Mario, like 1, 2, 3, but I can't deny how much I loved it when I was, 6 to 12 years old. That's all I would play. So I kind of think this should be my number 1 based on the conversation I know we're going to have in a few minutes, but I love
Interesting.
Mario.
Oh, I can't wait.
Everyone is
My
going to
number,
have to call me out big time.
my number one, the finalist of franchises, Final Fantasy. I mean,
Oh yeah.
of course, it's obvious. And I mean, they have like who knows how many entries. Final Fantasy VII Remake, just the cherry on top of an already amazing cake, and or sundae, whatever you put as
Yeah,
cherry.
we're not putting
on.
cherries on cake, bud. I might have hit the rye
The
today.
icing on the cake, the cherry on the sundae. Let's get it straight.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just love all the games. The Pixel remasters just came out. I've been playing through those, loving those. Still with their like little reworked balancing and tweaks. I just love these traditional turn-based. I even love when they kind of go off script. Now I haven't played the MMOs 11 or 14, but I've heard amazing things about 14, and if I did have time sometime in the next 30 years, let's say, I might try Final Fantasy 14 at one point. Um, but yeah, I love it. I love, yeah, I know, eh?
I don't think enough can be said about Final Fantasy, about how they always reinvent like the world. They don't just do like this repetitive sequels and rely on past characters and ideas. The fact that they always go to a new place and have new stuff like that needs to be celebrated more.
And not even same setting. Like it's not always fantasy. It's not always steampunk. It's not always, next gen tech. Like they switch it up. It's really, and the gameplay they change. Like you could have a weird system like in Final Fantasy 13 where there's this whole like switching thing. You could completely go away from the turn based and go towards Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and it's still fun. It's still Final Fantasy, and they are still able to capture the essence. And yeah, I love it. I'll buy every one that comes out. They're so good.
I think a nice comparison franchise that should be on my list and probably should have been on Sean's list, Resident Evil. And I think like even going to first person for Resident Evil, like there's big changes and it still feels like a Resident Evil game. And I definitely considered long and hard as to whether or not Resident Evil should be on my list, but I did not.
Yeah, I mean that one's an honorable mention for me. The reason it's not on my list is because I'm not big on the first three. Like I mean, not that I didn't have a PlayStation back in the day, so I never played them initially, other than at like a friend's house or something. So I just felt weird. Like, how can I say that's like one of my favorite franchises?
Yeah, like you haven't even played their HD remakes. You like
Yeah.
7, Village. Like it should be your number one franchise, but for whatever reason, it is. At times you speak as if it is, but it actually means absolutely nothing to you.
As the only guy in,
Four.
especially since he's the only guy in the world that actually likes Resident Evil 6. I mean, that should say it all right there. I think no
I
one
like
else
Resident
likes.
Evil 6.
Oh, maybe it was Frank. Maybe it was
Yeah,
Frank.
I was the one who played it and thought like the reviews were unfair. I still feel that way.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about 6, but it's all about 4, baby. 4 is
Hey,
amazing.
it's all about 4 for Oculus coming out soon. You got to be pumped for that.
Yeah, I might check it out.
Your two favorite worlds marrying.
Well, speaking of favorite worlds, my number one, probably no surprise, it is Metroid. Which, like, I mean, I've had a long history with the series. I've always enjoyed it, and I think the first one in particular is very ahead of its time. I think even Metroid 2 is ahead of its time. Like it was, I think, the first kind of Metroidvania style game that had save points and things like that. But there was just always something about that continuous world where most games were levels that were, you beat a level, move on to the next one. The fact that Metroid, you were like in one big world, always kind of exploring and moving around, that was always super compelling to me. But the one thing that I did think about with putting this at number one for me is like, is it a great franchise recently? And we might get into this with Metroid Dread a bit, but I feel like Nintendo has lost their way a little bit. But clearly that formula of Metroid has spawned so many games in the past decade. So it's a very, it's an amazing formula for
Yeah, and
games
Sean,
now.
don't fret. You still have that Metroid Prime 4, like splash presentation 6 years ago.
Yeah,
That
it's still coming.
Everyone was so excited.
Absolutely.
Haven't seen a frame of yet. Joke. My number one is Uncharted.
Lucky.
And this is where Sean, considering he's beaten 2 of the Uncharted games that I haven't, has carte blanche to destroy me right now. But
Well, I haven't platinumed them, so that's something, I guess, right?
I think I've played Uncharted 1, beaten it at least 11 times, maybe 12.
Conservative estimate.
And I love 2. I love 3. I agree. 4 is not that great. 2 is probably the best one for me by far. And I think it needs the reason I like it so much, and I like it more than Last of Us and other Naughty Dog stuff and other current AAA stuff. The story is so focused. Like the ones that Amy Hennig worked on, she worked on 1 and 2, right?
Definitely.
Okay,
I don't
because
know- I
those
don't know if
ones,
she did 3.
the cutscenes are concise, they're meaningful, they like advance the story perfectly, they build character, and you never like, oh God, please end. They are the perfect amount of time. They're not self-indulgent, and ultimately, I think because of her, she identified exactly what makes an adventure movie like Indiana Jones, an adventure movie, all the important pieces, leaned into that with everything in the story. And I think one of the biggest disappointments is like her Star Wars game got canceled because I think I've seen interviews where she's talked about how like watching Star Wars and trying to think what makes those movies like define them and bringing that into a video game world. I think she would have done an amazing job. Fallen Order didn't do a bad version of that, but I think she would have absolutely crushed it. So,
She also did Uncharted 3.
okay. And
And she started working on Uncharted 4, but I believe if I remember reading interviews with Neil Druckmann that they basically had to rewrite stuff after she had left. So
Yeah.
I don't think her fingerprints are in Uncharted 4 really at all.
And I think that shows, and it's not to say that I think 3 and 4 are bad. I love the games, but the pacing in 1 and 2 are the best. I would like the chapters, everything about it. I would just like keep playing. I would play that game until I literally had to go to bed because I was going to pass out. The day Uncharted 2 came out, I played it till 4 a.m. Got up for work the next day, worked, came home, played it till it was done. The visual pacing, like unprecedented for Naughty Dog games in general. I'm never looking at the same things over and over again. Color schemes changing all the time, character development. I love the gameplay. I feel like, just the cover shooting mechanics, I think they're good. And I think I forgot to bring this up on Film Junk. One of my favorite things in Free Guy was when they're like, who'd have thought people want to play a game where you just look at other people instead of shooting them? And my thought was like, nobody. Everyone loves shooting other things in video games. That's why they all have it. It's not because you like killing things. It's because aiming is the most satisfying basic single game mechanic that exists. It never fails. That's why every 3D platformer adds something where you shoot and aim down the sights. It is as satisfying and as good as an action video game mechanic gets. And you take a great story and insert a tried and true video game mechanic along with puzzle solving and platforming, and you have the best video game franchise ever created. Not to mention, let's go back to Silicon Knights 2007, whenever it was. Everyone loved. I'm sure I've told this story before. I don't care. Everyone, Xbox 360. Oh my God, it's the best. Oh,
That's when
PlayStation.
you got the Piola, bud.
PlayStation 3 sucks. Oh, it's the worst. Frankie comes in. He's a bit of a rogue, a renegade. He gets a PlayStation 3 because it's a Blu-ray player. And, I played Resistance. I was like, people are sleeping on Resistance. Eventually, that holiday season, Uncharted comes out. Let's go back to the Metascores for Uncharted 1 at the time. They're probably around 8s, 7s, 8.5s. I come in the next week. I'm like, these video game critics are out of their mind. This is the best game. It has touches and attention to detail in a game I've never seen in my life. When you go through that submarine the first time and you like are grabbing and you like that right there, I like lost my mind. I think I told everyone at Silicon Knights about it.
Yes, you did.
But I'm like, I was so ahead of the game on Naughty Dog, so ahead of the game. And we have evidence here. These two men on video with me right here saying, just say it, say it's true.
It's true.
I thought I had the sound drop of Foo Fighters Hero, but I don't have it. So, but you are my hero, Frank. I think I borrowed the first one from you too. I think that's
I spread the joy. Naughty Dog, you have me to thank. I started it.
So
I recognize.
I just looked it up on Metacritic. It did get an 88. So it was not totally.
Those are old reviews being added. Go to the reviews from 2007.
Well, I don't know how to do that. I'll trust you to do that for me.
Look at the major publications from 2007 and not when they re-reviewed the collection.
Let me try to find some real.
I know for a fact was 8.5.
IGN, here you go.
IGN was 8.5.
Your site, 91 from IGN.
Even that's too low.
Eurogamer, 90.
It should be a 10. It's not even close.
Let's see here. The official PlayStation Magazine UK, 90.
That's not good enough. I'm sorry.
I know.
It's better than that.
Embarrassing.
Anyway, I love the franchise. I need to write the embarrassments here, and I need to play the Vita version and Lost Legacy ASAP.
I want to tangent back to Amy Hennig and just say that her last game really was Uncharted 3. Apparently, she was a writer on Battlefield Hardline, which, if I recall, was applauded for its story, even though the gameplay was not great. And then I guess she's also a writer on that's Forspoken game that's coming out.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
From Square Enix. Those are the only two games since Uncharted 3. Like, what a shame for the industry that she went trying to make this amazing Star Wars game, probably was on it for, 4 years, did nothing with it, went somewhere else, hasn't done anything with them yet. Like, what a real shame. Like, she is a talent that has not released anything in 10 years, really. Like, that is.
You want to talk about shame and embarrassment? I thought her last name was Henning up until 2 minutes ago. I've had dyslexia and I've read it the wrong way. Or I don't know how, I don't have dyslexia. I just, whatever. I don't know why. I thought I've said Henning my entire life and I'm literally sweating right now.
One video game franchise of all time.
It's that hot blue haze.
Anyway, I agree. That's it for me. We're done. Top fives.
Yeah.
Honorable mentions. I gotta quickly mention Castlevania, which I considered, but haven't, this is the whole thing, and Frank will probably agree with me on this one, but I really only became interested once Symphony of the Night came out. Like, I mean, I liked the early NES Castlevania games, but, they were fine. They weren't, like, amazing. But
Castlevania's been so tainted. It can have no place on this list.
Once they started borrowing from Metroid, I was in, but it's like, that's why Metroid is my number one. It has nothing to do with Castlevania. But I do still like that franchise. And I was considering Half-Life / Portal. Portal is in the Half-Life universe. I don't know if there's only 2 games in the Portal franchise on its own, but kind of combining the two, I feel like that's...
I said I wouldn't, we said 2 games, and I kind of made a rule, like I kind of need three at a minimum to kind of establish it. So Portal, Last of Us, and what was the other one that came to mind based on what you just said? Shit, it'll come back to me. But I just like, I can't give it based on that few games.
Yep, I hear you.
For me, there's like a lot of franchises like Zelda, like Grand Theft Auto, uh, even Halo. Like there
Yeah.
are games that in those franchises that are amazing, and the franchise as a whole is extremely good. But or maybe Red Dead Redemption. Were you thinking of that, maybe, Frank?
No,
Um,
if I put that on my list, I really never hear the.
yeah, that's true. But like there are games that are amazing in that franchise, but then there are other games that are just like complete letdowns. Like especially with like Castlevania, I find even Metroid, like I don't really love the Prime games, and I find that the 2D games are good, but I never really had Game Boy Advance, so I never really got into Zero Mission. I never really got into the one that came after Zero Mission. I can't remember what that one was called. I know they're really good Metroid games, but I just never got into them. So, and with same with Zelda, like I could never got into Skyward Sword. That 10-hour long tutorial just too much. And there's just like I agree, Breath of the Wild and some of the stuff they do is really incredible and also really subtle, which I like all the environmental effects in Zelda. How many puzzles they have in the world is incredible. Like a lot of really, really amazing
How
stuff.
bad the boss fights are at the behest of their weapons system and open worldness. Like the bosses suck in Breath of the Wild. There's no other way to say it.
I think they're fine, but just on the Metroid thing too, like Metroid Prime, I love. Like I'm not as crazy about the two sequels. I don't know if I've ever finished.
I'm glad you brought this up, Sean, because Metroid Prime, like it's revered, but I didn't finish Metroid Prime 2. I didn't finish Metroid Prime 3. So like what can I possibly say about it? Metroid Prime 1 is amazing.
Yeah, and I think that is an amazing transition or like completely reinventing but keeping the spirit of the original 2D games alive. Like it's amazing what they pulled off there. But yeah, I mean,
except the end. The end sucks. When you have to find all those Chozo ruins things to make it to the end boss. What a pain in the ass.
That's not a bad point. Not a bad point.
Giant pain in the ass.
The one I was thinking of with only 2 entries, and the reason I thought of it is because I think they're better Metroid games than Metroid, is Guacamelee. I think I've played each of those games at least twice and love it every time I play it. And I could play it again tonight if I really needed to. I love it.
I can tell you, I have put in way more hours than any of you guys on Guacamelee 1. I've put in probably at least 1,000 hours into that game, and I still enjoy it. So
the combat is so good.
I would agree that is almost worthy of going on this list, and it is underrated for sure.
Like I was playing Biomutant, and every 3 minutes I'm like, why didn't you just copy Guacamelee's combat? You're kind of doing the same thing. It's clunkier. It's not fun. Like just copy it. If I was
Biomutant or Fist?
Oh, Fist. Sorry. They're almost the same game in my head at this point.
Another game I considered a franchise was Mega Man. Which I really, I like the format of those games, but I do find the difficulty a little abrasive to myself. And just how you have to play so much, and then if you die, if you make one tiny mistake or maybe two, like you fall into a pit, you got to go all the way back. And, you know, with the whole number of lives things and the continues and stuff, it's really just difficult. Maybe they fix that in the newer Mega Mans, but...
Well, it's funny. I played Mega Man 11 a while back, and I was playing it with Kieran, and they do have like all these new difficulty things you can turn on and off, so you can kind of like find almost your perfect difficulty level. And it was interesting. Like it was the first time where I was like, wow, like I could really love Mega Man because, you know, you could play through it to a point where it's like, you know, maybe you don't instant death from falling in a pit but you could still die from taking enough damage or something like that. You could find just the right balance for you. And but that's not the default setting, and it just feels weird. It feels like, well, that's not how it's meant to be played. And
well, Sean, I had this thought today. I apologize if I'm making it sound like a mind-blowing thought, but it kind of blew my own mind. How is there not a Mega Man Metroid game? It is perfect. Like the way you get new bosses and weapons and open up gates. Like it is the perfect franchise to translate to Metroid. How has this not been done?
Well, there are like some of the Mega Man X games are kind of considered Metroidvania games, so you could say that they
Maybe.
exist, but I mean, I agree. I think
Like
that
it's right
could be
there. It's
that
prime
could be
for
a
the
really
taking.
cool
Like,
mashup. The only other thing I can think of is there was that 20XX game. It's kind of like a roguelike, but Mega Man, and I think it's sort of Metroid-ish as well, but I don't know if it,
I'm just taking Capcom wants to make a bunch of money. You don't have to think of a new idea. You know Metroids work. People love them. They buy them. Put Mega Man in that world or type of design environment. It's going to sell.
Well, and the base
Million
skill
copies.
set is the same.
Yeah.
The exact.
pretty similar, yeah.
Pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Without
the
having
same
to,
thing.
without having to do the frustrating element of Mega Man, which is going back to the menu and picking a boss or restarting every time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
come on. Like, I don't think I could actually sell that idea, but it's worth selling if you could.
A couple, you know what? I actually was thinking that one franchise I kind of expected on Frank's list lower down was Tomb Raider because of the new Tomb Raider games.
I would have, like, if I could have just said the last three, it might have actually been number 2.
Yeah.
But I liked the first one when it came out. Even the sequels on PlayStation, I couldn't get into. Too complicated. The scale and scope blew up way too much. And then all the reimagined ones and Underworld on 360, I didn't dislike them, but yeah, the newest ones I absolutely loved. And to be fair, they're kind of just copying Uncharted, which is why
Well, they
I like
also
them.
had the what were the kind of like arcade ones, the Xbox arcade ones that came out.
Oh, I loved the co-op ones, Temple of
yeah,
Osiris.
yeah, those ones.
yeah,
Those were good.
Yep. But there's a lot of weak links in the Tomb Raider chain.
Oh, you know what? I can't believe I didn't put Madden on mine.
NHL, just all sports.
Well, I don't really like NHL. Madden I love. NHL I have a love-hate relationship with.
We got to do most overrated or top 5 overrated franchises because I have, like, I'm even deciding between 3 in my head right now for number 1. Like, I think I have number 1 with a bullet, but yeah, it is. It has to be number 1, and it's not what you think it's going to be. I don't think I've like gone off on this franchise ever on this podcast. My number 1 is like insane that people revere this franchise so much in my mind. You can start to think about what that is.
okay.
There's not even a great.
I bet I know it. I bet I know.
There's not even a great single entry in these series yet. Like I'm looking at a top franchise list right now. It's number 8. I'm like, what? I liked this series when I was a kid, and then I go back and play it now, and I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking?
I know exactly what it is.
Okay, go for it.
You want me to guess?
Yeah.
Sonic.
100%. The most hated franchise ever. Not even close. Like the design sucks. It's like when I got a Genesis and I was like, I did love Sonic when I got it, but then you play Mario World and you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? Even when I was 12 years old, I'm like, I'm an idiot. This game, like you wake up and you're like, yeah, this is good. That other game is trash. Okay, let's go as fast as we can just to come to a grinding halt and hit some spring and not like it's the worst. Sonic sucks.
Well, we don't have to
are
do
we
that
done?
show anymore.
No, we can still do it. I'd like to compile a more definitive list as to why Sonic sucks. I just had to get it out of me. I had to get it out of me.
All right, let's wrap it then. What
All
we
right.
played, I guess. Eh?
What we played.
Let
Let
just
us
keep
know
this rambling
your
going.
top
Go.
5 franchises in the comments on YouTube, and you better not have Sonic in there. I can stand Zelda. That's how I know number 1 is not Zelda. Like there are amazing Zelda games, but Sonic there isn't even a good one. They had a movie based on it. Like the franchise sucks. I mean, Pokemon's on my list too. You got to know that's coming. All right, what we played. Sean, you want to go first on Metroid Dread? I'm not going to say much.
Yeah, I mean, so Frank's played a lot more than me. I've played probably like 2 to 3 hours, and I am definitely very mixed on it right now. I think, basically any new thing, like they've tried some new things, and almost any new thing they've added is not great.
Correct. It's a lot like Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Like every new mechanic kind of stunk.
I mean, that one to me is still like pretty close to the original game. Yeah, they've added a couple new abilities, but this is like, the whole Emmy thing.
Sean, let me just refresh your memory on Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Any of the diving mechanics, sand, including the sand and water diving, where you jump out of the water and have to grab onto things, is brutal. And that's the water area has that. The sand area has that one. Every area has a new mechanic. The mechanic where it's hide in the light versus the dark in Ori, that sucks too. Yeah. Jumping on bubbles also sucks. Like every new thing they added in Ori Will of the Wisps stunk. Having to swap weapon powers out on the X and Y button stunk.
Well, so here's my problem with Metroid Dread so far, though.
Sorry, Sean didn't want to hear it. He's not ready for that.
For what, the Ori thing?
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of right, but like to me, it's like it's still the general gameplay is still the same. Whereas I feel like Metroid Dread, you think of what a Metroid game should be, and they kind of like just throw roadblocks in the way constantly that kind of just annoy you. And you're like, I just want to explore, look around, absorb the atmosphere. And they have to constantly kind of like enclose you in these little areas where it's like you can't. And throw cutscenes in your face. And then this whole Emmy thing, which I think the idea is to get back to some sort of horror element in the series, because they've always had a little bit of, obviously borrowing from the Alien movie franchise. They've had a bit of that in there. And so I think they were like, okay, we want some sections in this game where it's really tense and you feel like underpowered. And so there's sections where when you get inside them, these robots hunt you. And if they catch you, it's instant death with like a slight, if you just happen to press a button at just the right time, you can kind of parry your way out. But it's like, And
you know how I know that mechanic sucks? They've admitted it themselves in their loading menus. When they say I can't remember what it's called, the parry on the Emmy is supposed to be a last chance, very rare exception to the rule. Like they're almost telling you, when you're not doing it a lot, you should expect that. They have admitted to their own design flaw.
It's not even like it's a timing thing. You have to get the timing perfect, but I believe the timing is
random timing. Yeah, that's why
there's no way you can do it. Like I actually
because
did it
you
twice.
knew how to do it.
I
You could do it every
twice.
time.
But
Sorry,
it's just frustrating. And like, I'm not opposed to the idea of this thing hunting you or whatever, but like, it just, there's sections where you can explore freely, but once you go through these doors and you're in these Emmy sections, you're being hunted, and you inevitably you die, 5 times over and over again till you can just cross to the other side, because all you wanted to do was get to the other side to keep playing. And eventually there are ways you can kill these things, but those things obviously are the big new addition. I do not like them.
Sean, we are vibing big time with Metroid. I got to jump in though, because if people are listening right now, I have to say, Sean hasn't even gotten to the worst. Like he just got to the worst part of the stealth sections, which is the cloaking mechanism, where it slows down the way you walk. You jump in a completely different way that is not fun and leads to more deaths than it saves, in my opinion. And Sean's not even there yet. He hasn't even gotten to the worst of the worst. But we are vibing completely. We basically said the same things in our text chain when we first started playing it that night. But this is my base criticism. I will save nitpicks and specifics for the review. If you could boil Metroid down to one word, we often, in the games industry, you have core pillars for a game. What defines it? What is the core pillar of Metroid? If you had to reduce Metroid to one core pillar, what would it be?
Exploration.
You got it, bud. And this game stifles exploration. It is completely missing what makes Metroid Metroid. And I think it doesn't think it's doing that. if you ask the designers, and I think they'd be wrong. And
Like I
a
think
lot
they
of gating
are.
mechanisms is just gate after gate after gate, and it's basically linear. It's become a linear game.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some debate on some forums and stuff about that. Like, I think the feeling is that it's linear. I definitely got that feeling. I don't know if it's more linear than some of the other, like, I was saying to you, like, Metroid Fusion starts off kind of linear as well, then it opens up. So I don't know if, like, I just got to a spot where I feel like it is opening up a bit, but it's my understanding that still with these Emmy sections and stuff, there's always you get into a section and you have to kind of figure that section out
Yeah.
before you're released into the open world again.
It's like basically an exercise in gating players the whole game, and I don't disagree. And I could see the debates that would happen about as to whether or not it actually features more exploration than any other Metroid. But it's certainly a perception thing, where I feel like I'm exploring in any other Metroid game, and this one I'm just like being pushed through section to section. Now, like exactly what you said, Sean, figure out this little loop. You're going to get stuck. You're going to go backwards. You're like, what? Did I miss something? And it's usually shoot a floor. And it's just not that interesting. And I don't know. Believe me. Oh, this review is going to be a megaton. Get ready. But if I had to give it a rating out of 10 right now, I'd probably be a 7.5 or an 8. Although in the middle, it got really good for a while, and now it's coming way back down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better than Other M. Probably for me, not as good as Samus Returns so far.
But at least I appreciated Other M doing something new, like
Yeah.
trying to do a different thing. I kind of like that about it. This one, everything that's new, it's like not really committing to the new stuff, and the new mechanics are not strong at all. And it gets worse. Like by the end, I'm like cramping up trying to hit all these different shoulder buttons. I said to Sean, I don't know how people play this in handheld mode. The clunkiness of the controls, and I think more that they're cumbersome. They're missing like quality of life stuff. Like wait till you get to the grapple beam. You're going to lose your fucking mind. The fact that you have to hold shoot after you've successfully grappled with something, like you have to hold it for the entirety of your grapple. Oh, like how could no one have figured this out? Like games don't do this anymore.
Well, I mean, just to say something positive, like my initial impression of the movement is that it actually feels really good. Like Samus moves faster than any other Metroid game. I like the slide and some of these other things.
Slide was in the 3DS game, right? I'm pretty
I
sure.
think so, yeah. But it just feels very fluid. So
I love the
that's
art.
good.
I like this is the first Metroid 2D game where like they have like background elements and like obviously a 2.5D style, or as Oddworld would say 2.9D. I think this might be the first official 2.9D title, as far as I'm concerned. And like it looks amazing. And I love the look. I love, again, I said it before, Nintendo cutscenes underrated. Like there's some cool shots and animations in them. The main bosses are good. The sub bosses stink. Okay, we'll save the rest for the review. Like there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I agree.
And new map sucks. Last one. New map sucks.
I will be. You guys made it sound so great. I'll probably buy it tonight and then join you guys in the review. But I've been playing Tales of Arise, which is the newest Tales game that came out a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. I don't know. But overall, I'm liking it. Pretty typical, traditional action RPG game. You play as some character who, of course, has amnesia and is wearing this like man with the iron mask over his face. And what I like about the game is it really has this like subtle humor to the game where just when you're thinking like, why would they do that? Then the characters will say like, why are you doing that? Like they're like, they understand that it's stupid. And then so they go to like a campfire to cook food and you're just like, how's this guy going to eat with this thing on his face? And then the characters are like, do you even eat with that thing on? Like they actually like call it out as you're thinking about all the stupid stuff that the game has, which I really appreciate that they aren't just glossing over that. So I really like that like subtle humor of it and just kind of leaning into it, all its little quirks. And design wise, it feels a little less last gen in maybe even PS3 gen in terms of the quest design. A lot of fetch questy stuff, a lot of load screens, a lot of come here, then go all the way to the other side of the map, grab this thing and come back type quests, which I'm not really a huge fan of anymore. But the combat's fun. Basically,
yeah, I'm curious about the combat.
Yeah, basically when you get into combat, so I'm still having layers added to the game as I'm going through still. So I don't think I've seen everything with the combat, but how it works is you basically you run into an enemy in the overworld screen, and then you're teleported to basically like a tiny sphere arena, essentially. And then in there you have your main attack, which you can use as much as you like on the right bumper, which is a little awkward. Actually, I don't totally know if I'm sold on using that. And then you have these like arts, which are essentially your like magic attacks or special move, which basically you can use, and then there's a cooldown, you can use it again. And I believe you do have some sort of like other arts points or something. You have some limited amount for some reason. And those are on sort of like the face buttons of the controller. So like X, Y, and A on Xbox controller. And so those are pretty fun, and you could kind of combo those together. And they have a mechanic where if you like spam one over and over and over again, it gets less and less effective. It's almost like the enemy is kind of learning your technique and defending against it. So it does encourage you to kind of try to combo them together and make some sort of fluid thing. They have the ability where you kind of can like break the defense of the enemies, and then you can spam them at that time. So there is a little bit of a timing mechanic where you want to wait to use your arts until the enemies are broken. You can hit multiple enemies at the same time, which is nice. One of the characters you have has a gun, so she can use a special ability to take down sort of like aerial units to bring them lower to the ground so you can attack them. So there is some neat kind of like battle mechanics in here. I am enjoying the battle so far. And I think the game's getting pretty good reviews, so I wouldn't say it's overrated. I don't know if it's underrated either. It seems it's like a good kind of like
It's just
spot
rated.
for just right. It's just right, you know, Goldilocks, the Goldilocks zone. And yeah, I'm gonna keep playing it. I like it. The story is weird, but it does have this sort of like, almost like oppressed people trying to break out. I was almost getting like almost like a Holocaust vibe, like you're part of the like people working in like a labor camp essentially, and you're trying to break free from your oppressors. So I almost got this sort of like ties to World War II type stuff. So yeah, that was weird. I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm pretty sure it's probably a long game, so I don't know how far I'll get, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'm gonna keep playing. I like it. So people like, and I haven't played a Tales game in a while. So it's kind of nice to come back and play, or even an action RPG of this style. I guess the last action RPG like this I played this was probably Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is kind of similar in its style, and I like it. I like it a lot. So that's it. That's all I've been playing.
I hear it's pretty long, right? I think.
As far as I know, yeah, I'm sure it's probably like, I think all these Tales games are like 80 hours or so.
Yep.
Anyone else got anything?
No, I don't think so. I have been playing Sable still. Kind of weird in the sense that I think I'm at the point where I could just end it if I wanted to. Like, it's weird. They just kind of set you out and you just kind of explore and you do these quests. And the only thing you're really told is go out and get a bunch of masks. That's what you're trying to do. And so it's basically, I think, once you get one mask, you can go back to your hometown or whatever and basically end the game if you want. So, but I'm going to play a little more and maybe talk about that in the future.
Cool. So hopefully Metroid Dread review next week. Maybe something else will come up. Who knows? But
Isn't Back for Blood out next week?
Oh yeah, that's right.
This
Shit.
week?
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Gee, I gotta finish this game ASAP.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some maybe some film junk plays, maybe some game junk plays too.
You guys better not cheat on us again. Your film junk plays. Get out of here. Is Back for Blood? Does it have a single player or is it exclusively multiplayer? You guys know?
I think I think you can play with bots, but there's no campaign or anything.
It's like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think. So, Sean is at Film Junk on Twitter. Andrew is Mind Greek Commute and Equilibrium Sys. You can watch the videos at youtube.com/GameJunk. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Holy!
I can't wait for this review. It's gonna be fiery. I need to play this game.
All right.
How long is it? Wait, how long is it?
Everyone says 7 hours. That might be like your final time. But if you account for how many times you don't get me started on the do you want to continue menu, and if you hit B by accident and you didn't save, it like takes you an hour of progress away. Why would I want to not continue? How many people are playing Metroid and like, you know what? I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to press B and go back to the main menu before I stop playing. Like, what the fuck? It's insane. If you want to put that at the end of the video, feel free. I got to get these things out of me.
Okay.
I can't wait a week.